Let me share with you a story. Has anyone heard of the Baal Shem Tov? The Baal Shem Tov? So a lot of our stories come with the Baal Shem Tov. He's an amazing mystical figure, and sometimes we think they may get lost in sort of folklore. And it's true. Sometimes if you believe everything you hear in a Hasidic story, you may be perhaps a bit of a fool in some way. But the truth is, if you don't believe what you hear in a Hasidic story, you're even a bigger fool. Yeah, so there's something there, and trust me, these stories did occur and came down, maybe in a few versions. But I want to share with you something that happened. A wealthy-looking man came to the Baal Shem Tov, and he gave him a large contribution, and he introduced himself. Hello, my name is Avigdor. I'm from the city of Brod. I'm a successful merchant, and I brought this for you. So the Baal Shem Tov accepted the donation and said, do you have any requests? Most people came with a request for a blessing. No, said Avigdor. I'm doing very well. Baal Shem Tov said, perhaps a blessing for parnasa, for income, for business. Oh no, said Avigdor. I have a very, very good head for business. I've always been very careful to invest in many places. I'll buy lumber, I'll buy fur, I'll go to the market, I'll buy cheap, I'll sell high. I've got such a good head, I have nothing to worry about for parnasa. Well, the Baal Shem looked at him in a bit of surprise and said, searchingly, thank God. But he heard nothing back. So again, he asked him, how's your family's health? How's your wider family? He asked him all kinds of questions, hoping to hear from him, perhaps a simple thank God. But still he didn't get anything back. And so he leaned forward and he said to Avigdor, you know, it says in our tradition that God is enshrined, God is enthroned, rather, on the praises of the people of Israel, from Psalms. Do you know what that means? That God sits in heaven and waits for when we say thank God or when we praise God's name, and it's even more dear to God than the praises of the angels. The singing of the angels in all the heavens is nothing compared to when one Jew thanks and praises God. And even though it may seem like everything's fine, everything's good, even if you're attributing it to your own wisdom, perhaps you can realize that even your wisdom is a gift from God, and that God sits and waits, and the only reward that God gets is that we praise and thank him, and then God gives us even more blessings. That's all we need to do. The Baal Shem Tov looked, and still no reply from Avigdor. So the Baal Shem Tov said, well, since you don't need a favor from me, perhaps you could do me a favor. Yes? And he said, I need this letter delivered to the head of the Jewish community in Brod, where you're from, but only give it to him and only put it directly in his hands, please. He wrote a short note, sealed it, and gave it to Avigdor. That was it. Avigdor went on his way. And as he left, he thought about the Baal Shem Tov's words, and he thought, how hard is it to say thank God every now and then? Fine, I'll do that. But as time went on, he thought of other things, and sad to say, he forgot about the advice from the Baal Shem Tov. When he got home, he got busy. The suit wound up, put away in a cabinet right at the back, the letter in it, out of sight, out of mind. The letter was never delivered. Well, years went on, and suddenly it seemed Avigdor's luck took a turn for the worse. Despite his good head, each investment turned bad, a ship sank with some wood, a forest burned down with some lumber, people didn't pay up their debts, until finally he was forced to sell his possessions. 16 years had passed, and he sold everything except one last piece that he had to keep him out of total poverty, and that was a suit sitting in the back of a cabinet. And sadly trudged over to the suit, now penniless man, basically, and he started emptying the pockets to sell it to whatever clothes merchant he could find, and out he pulled that crumpled envelope with a note from the Baal Shem Tov. And suddenly, he was struck with awe. He said, how could I forget to deliver this letter from such a saintly man? And the face of the Baal Shem Tov appeared before his eyes, and he remembered the Baal Shem Tov's advice to thank God for blessings. And he said to himself, if only I had realized it was not just advice, but also a warning of what was coming. And he resolved in his heart deeply to thank God at every opportunity for every blessing, to always keep that in the forefront of his mind. And he said, I have to deliver this letter. So he rushed out into the street, and he read the letter. It said to Reb Tzadok, the head of the Jewish community, the community head. So he went to the nearest Jew he could find. He had no idea. He'd been out of touch with the Jewish community. He said, where can I find Reb Tzadok? And the man looked at him and said, oh, you mean the newly elected head of the community, Reb Tzadok? Yeah, well, where can I find him? Oh, well, he's still in the shul. We just elected him head of the Jewish community. Amazing that he came from such poor beginnings, and now look at him. Well, Avigdor wanted to know a little about this person he met. He said, tell me about him. And the man said, oh, he started off as a very simple tailor, not even a very good tailor, if you ask me. But somehow, I don't know, several years ago, a change occurred. He had a change of luck. And he started sewing and repairing liveries for a squire who took a great liking to him, and then gave him more business, and then for the army, making uniforms, and finally he was contracting so many tailors all throughout the town, became very wealthy, but he never changed. Reb Tzadok always said, if you asked him, how you doing? He said, I'm making a living, thank God. I always gave tzedakah, always smiled, treat everybody with respect, and look at him now, head of the community. So Avigdor rushed to the shul, and there he found Reb Tzadok. He rushed up to him and said, I'm so sorry that I'm so late delivering this letter, but here, this is from the Baal Shem Tov for you. Reb Tzadok was taken aback because the Baal Shem Tov had passed away several years earlier, but he opened the envelope and saw indeed, to his amazement, a personal letter, a request addressed to him in the Baal Shem Tov's own handwriting. And it said, I want to introduce you to the carrier of this letter. Please know that he was once a very, very successful merchant, but he's now down on his luck. And could you please help him get back on his feet? And if you doubt the authenticity of this letter, let me give you two signs. First of all, this letter will arrive exactly on the first day of your election to the community head. And secondly, on the same day, you'll get news of a new baby boy born to your family. And right at that moment, a messenger rushed in panting and announced, Reb Tzadok, your wife just gave birth to a baby boy. So both these Jews stood stunned in shock. Reb Tzadok looked up and said, no need to apologize for delivering the letter late. I assure you it came exactly on time. But if I could ask you to please meet me in my house tonight, I have some important business that I think a man with your talents can help me with. Avigdor was just so amazed by the turn of events, he didn't know what to say. Reb Tzadok said, do you have anything to add? And Avigdor said, no, nothing except, thank God. And I'll meet you tonight at your house, please God. We are gifts, and we are blessings. We are history in song. We are hope, and we are healing. We are learning to be strong. We are words, and we are stories. We are pictures of the past. We are carriers of wisdom, not the first and not the last. Vador, Vador, nagid golecha. Vador, Vador, we protect this chain from generation to generation. Vador, Vador, these lips will praise your name. Looking back on the journey that we carry in our heart, from the shadow of the mountain to the waters that would part. We are blessed and we are holy. We are children of your way, and the words that bring us meaning, we will have the strength to say. Vador, 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 we protect this chain from generation to generation. Vador, Vador, these lips will praise your name. Vador, Vador, these lips will praise your name.